Stop watching this on your fancy screen for a minute and listen closely. You spend all this time prepping for the visible threats, the looters, the zombies, the inevitable cannibals. But the real killer, the truly elegant disaster, is the one you won't even see coming, the electromagnetic pulse. Or EMP, the high-altitude, invisible flash that renders every piece of modern technology a very expensive paperweight. When that pulse hits, the grid doesn't just fail. It commits suicide. Your car, your cell phone, your laptop, and every piece of microchipped gear you own becomes inert, useless metal. And in a world plunged into sudden, silent darkness, where information is the only thing more valuable than purified water, the single most critical piece of gear you must keep running is your radio. Why the radio? Because it's your link to reality. It tells you which city just got evacuated, where the last functioning government is, and where the looting gangs are heading next. It's the intelligence feed that stops you from running headfirst into a disaster zone. And without it, you are deaf, blind, and functionally dead in the new, silent apocalypse. The problem? Batteries die, and the grid is never coming back online. So today, we're exposing the EMP survival secret, how to keep your critical communications running using 5 ridiculous, yet functional household items. This isn't theory. This is low-tech post-apocalyptic science, the stuff the government assumes you're too dense to figure out. We start with the most obvious failure point in any EMP scenario: the power source. If your radio runs on batteries, you have maybe a few days of communication before silence. We need to generate small amounts of reliable, direct current, DC electricity from non-electronic, non-grid dependent chemistry, and the best place to find that is your kitchen. This leads us to household power hack. #1. The lemon battery, the citrus power plant. Forget what you learned in elementary school. This isn't a parlor trick, it's electrochemical warfare against the blackout. The science is simple. You need 2 different types of metal, electrodes, and an acidic solution, electrolyte. The acid eats away at one metal, zinc, releasing electrons that travel through the wire to the other metal, copper, creating a current. Your electrodes? Easy. The zinc can be found in a rusty galvanized nail, and the copper in pennies minted before 1982 or common house wiring stripped down. And the electrolyte? The juice inside that lemon, or lime, or any other citrus you have lying around. Even vinegar or heavily salted water works in a pinch. One lemon only provides about 0.9 volts, not enough to run your sophisticated radio. But remember the dark humor of survival. You didn't buy just one lemon, you bought a whole bag. The hack is series connection. You link 6 to 8 lemons together, connecting the zinc electrode of one to the copper electrode of the next. And you instantly boost your voltage to 4.5 or 6 volts. Suddenly, your small, low-draw AM/FM radio, the one you had the foresight to store in a Faraday cage, is now running, powered by fruit and loose change. The obvious practical limitation is the lifespan of the acid and the corrosion rate, but for crucial, short-burst intelligence gathering, your citrus supply is now a tactical power unit. Don't use this for pleasure listening. Use it to get the critical weather reports and troop movements, then power down immediately. This simple chemical conversion is the kind of first 72 hours science that separates the survivors who adapt from the victims who wait for the AA batteries to be restocked. Redundancy is the religion of survival, and if the lemon battery is your prayer, then the saltwater battery is your Psalma power source, so common, it's almost insulting that we overlook it. Household power hack number 2, the saltwater cell, the marine power source. The science is a minor modification of the acid-based cell. Instead of fruit juice, you use high-salinity water, which acts as a powerful electrolyte, readily conducting the flow of electrons between dissimilar metals. The necessary components are even easier to scavenge. For the electrodes, you again need 2 dissimilar metals, commonly a piece of magnesium or aluminum for the anode, and carbon or copper for the cathode. Where do you find magnesium or aluminum? Think aggressively. Aluminum foil, old soda cans, or even the sacrificial anodes often found on water heaters. The cathode, the carbon, is even easier. Strip the outer casing off any dead AA or AA battery you have lying around. The internal carbon rod is your conductor. You link multiple cells together in series aluminum foils submerged in salt water, connected by a wire to a carbon rod in the next jar, and so on, and you create a surprisingly resilient power source. The darker genius of this is that salt is virtually immortal. As long as you have salt, water, even slightly contaminated water, Though clean is better and scrap metal, you can generate power indefinitely. The voltage is low, the current is weak, but the potential is unlimited, making it the perfect sustained, low-draw power for charging crucial small devices or running your primary AM radio. Now, let's move from chemistry to physics, because every apocalypse survivor will eventually be fighting the cold, which is a resource if you know the thermoelectric effect. Household power hack number 3, the hot-cold generator, the heat stealer. The science is named after Thomas Seebeck. When you apply heat to one side of a junction made of two dissimilar semiconductor materials, it forces electrons to flow toward the cold side. In the post-apocalyptic world, your materials aren't high-tech bismuth telluride. They are improvisation, and the best improvisational material is the common Peltier module, found in every discarded electric cooler or dehumidifier. When these modules are run in reverse, they become highly efficient thermoelectric generators. One side sits on a heat source, your campfire, your stove, or even a very hot sun-baked rock. The other side is cooled submerged in cold water or simply exposed to the cooler basement air. The temperature difference, the delta T, generates voltage. This hack is essential for long-term sustained operation. If you're already heating your core shelter space for warmth, you might as well skim a little power off the top. The dark truth is that every calorie you burn heating water for tea is also a calorie of potential electrical power that is being wasted if you don't exploit the Seebeck effect. You link a few salvaged Peltier modules together, manage the temperature difference ruthlessly, and you have a silent, chemical-free, fire-powered charger for your crucial communication batteries. We've exhausted chemistry and exploited the physics of heat, but what happens when your lemons rot, your salt runs out, and your fire is too dangerous to light? You rely on the one constant in collapse: human labor. Your arms, your legs, and the constant, miserable need to move are now your final, reliable source of electrical energy, provided you know how to convert kinetic motion into usable DC current. Household power hack number 4, the magnet hack, the free dynamo. The science is Faraday's law of induction. If you move a magnet through a coil of wire, you induce an electrical current. It's the principle behind every generator and dynamo ever built. In the collapse, you don't have access to massive turbines. You have junk. Your goal is to maximize the magnet strength and the number of copper wire turns, creating a makeshift hand-cranked generator. Where do you find strong magnets? Discarded computer hard drives, which contain powerful neodymium magnets, or old loudspeakers, which house thick, heavy ceramic magnets? The copper wire? Scavenge it ruthlessly. Strip the plastic casing off any household extension cords, old motors, or transformer coils you can find. Your easiest application is the shake-light conversion. Tape your magnet to a piece of plastic or wood. Seal it inside a long plastic tube wrapped tightly with your copper wire, and shake aggressively. The magnetic field passing through the coil generates small bursts of a C current, which you then rectify. Convert to DC, using simple diodes salvaged from any dead circuit board. This is manual, tedious, and physically demanding, but it's a pure, renewable source of power directly tied to the only thing you can truly rely on: your own desperate labor. The dark humor is that all those years spent skipping the gym have just significantly reduced your power generation capacity in the new world. But the magnet hack isn't just for small handheld devices. It can be scaled up using the one piece of kinetic energy equipment everyone forgets they own: the bicycle. By rigging a simple alternator, salvaged from an old car, or even a beefed-up magnet and coil setup to the rear wheel, your daily miserable chore of riding becomes a life-saving power generation session. This provides the most sustainable, high-current generation you can realistically achieve post-ME for charging those critical radio batteries back up to operational status. The key is to minimize loss. Keep the wire coils tight, the magnet strong, and the motion smooth. Every minute of wasted effort is a minute of darkness you can't afford. So far, we've talked about scavenging power from lemons, salt, and your own miserable sweat. But for true long-term post-M survival, you need to think bigger, beyond immediate consumption, and towards sustainable, passive generation. This brings us to the most obvious, yet easily overlooked: post-apocalyptic power source that requires no fuel, no chemistry, and no backbreaking labor: the sun. Household power hack number 5. The micro-solar whisper, the silent charger. Your pre-EMP grid-tied solar panels will be fried, the inverters and microelectronics will be vaporized by the pulse. Forget the roof array. but individual, small, robust solar cells, the kind found in cheap garden lights, calculators, or tiny toys are surprisingly resilient to EMP, especially if they're pre-EMPs stored in a simple Faraday cage. The science is simple photovoltaics. Sunlight hits the semiconductor material, knocking electrons loose and creating a DC current. Your hack involves collecting every single one of these tiny, inexpensive solar cells you can find, and wiring them together in series to achieve the necessary voltage. A single garden light solar cell might only provide 0.5 volts, but 10 of them wired together will give you 5 volts, enough to slowly charge a small battery bank for your radio. The darker genius here is that these tiny cells are so ubiquitous and so inexpensive that no one thinks to protect them, yet they are the backbone of a post-EMP off-grid power solution. You don't need high wattage. You need consistent, low-amperage trickle charging that slowly re-energizes your crucial communications gear without drawing attention or requiring fuel. Remember, the sun is a constant, reliable energy source that doesn't care about your grid status, your fuel reserves, or the desperate hordes outside. This leads us to the final, most crucial element of EMP survival: understanding the power grid of desperation. Your neighbors, the ones who laughed at your Faraday cage, will be desperate for any source of light, heat, or communication, and they will target anyone who appears to have power. This means your small solar array must be concealed, placed subtly, and operated with extreme discipline to avoid signaling your crucial advantage. Don't set up a conspicuous charging station in your backyard. Run wires discreetly, charge batteries inside a well-shielded area, and limit light and noise output. The ultimate power hack isn't just generating electricity. It's generating it silently and invisibly, becoming a ghost in the new dark age. The goal is to maintain your critical communication long enough to gather intelligence and then make the strategic decisions that lead to long-term survival. These 5 hacks provide a layered, redundant approach to power generation, ensuring that even if one method fails, you have multiple low-tech alternatives to keep your radio alive. From the acidity of a lemon to the quiet hum of a tiny solar cell, the new physics of survival isn't about big centralized power. It's about microscale ingenuity and ruthless adaptation. You've done the impossible. You've kept your critical communications gear powered in the midst of an elegant grid-killing disaster, thanks to some lemons and scrap metal. But now, the information you gather, the troop movements, the 8-drop locations, the confirmed status of nearby cities becomes the most dangerous resource you possess. Your final, most important protocol is information security and stealth, because the desperate masses outside are not just hungry for food. They are starving for data. First, the absolute rule of post-EMP communication: never transmit. Unless you are a trained professional using high-frequency, directional burst transmission, every time you talk on a radio, you broadcast your location, your capabilities, and your vulnerability to anyone with a functioning receiver. Your powered radio is a receiver, only a passive intelligence tool. You are a spy in the dark, and spies listen, they do not talk. Next, total light and noise discipline during radio operation. Even the faint glow of a receiver screen in the pervasive post-EMP darkness can be seen for hundreds of yards. Use red spectrum light only. Shield your radio and notes behind thick cloth, and conduct all listening sessions in the most internal, shielded core of your location. The dark humor here is that your reliance on big, bright smartphone screens has totally ruined your night vision, which is now a life-saving sensory advantage. When information is gathered, it must be stored offline and destroyed after use. No written notes left lying around. No obvious maps marked with routes. If your location is breached, any piece of information that helps a hostile party understand your assets or your plans is a direct ticket to losing everything. The true power of having a working radio is initiating the silent exit protocol. The moment you confirm that local conditions are deteriorating and a larger threat is approaching, you move. Do not wait for the threat to arrive at your door. Use the 24-hour lead time your intelligence provides to conduct a stealthy retreat on foot, using low visibility, unconventional routes. Your goal is to become the gray man, unassuming, silent, and indistinguishable from the background noise, leaving no trace that you possessed critical, life-saving energy or communication capabilities. The essential post-EMP philosophy is this: you used ingenuity to create power. You used discipline to gather intelligence, and now you must use ruthless paranoia to leverage both for survival. Every scrap of salt, every discarded magnet, And every miserable minute spent shaking a tube for power paid for the intelligence that gets you out of the city alive. The collapse is a test of low-tech ingenuity, mental discipline, and the ability to accept that the rules of the old world cooperation, sharing, and openness are now deadly liabilities.